Hello, and you're very welcome along to another edition of the GAA podcast. I'm John Mann. Of course, the podcast is kindly brought to you by orgaretro.com. Use my promo code GAA podcast to get 15% off on the website. Championship this weekend. Get yourself organised on orgaretro.com. And tonight, I'm joined by Seamus Brady from the On Clear podcast to talk about last weekend's Allianz National Football League finals and, of course, Championship this weekend, Seamus. So it's hard to believe we're at that juncture already. So we look forward to chatting to Seamus tonight. Seamus, how are you?
I'm good, John. I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. My debut. So looking to impress. We've picked a good week. We have obviously the championship kicking off now.
Yeah.
Only literally just after we finished breaking down the league finals and everything like that. So very interesting time of year. It still takes getting used to, even though it's been this way for the last couple of years. But yeah, lots to talk about, lots to break down, and looking forward to jumping in.
Yeah, absolutely, Seamus. And we were talking off air. Obviously, you're at the games, Croker, over the weekend, were you?
Yeah, I was there on the Sunday. I couldn't make the Saturday, but I was there for the Division 3 and Division 1 finals. I watched the Division 2 and Division 4 games back live. The full games back, and then the highlights as well that are up on TGK's YouTube too.
Yeah, no, TGK offered an unbelievable service throughout the league, and we were forever indebted to them. That's brilliant, Seamus, and great to hear you in good form. That is the main thing, and we can crack in to the action that took place over the weekend in the Allianz National Football League finals in Croke Park. And I suppose, Seamus, just briefly before we can crack into the action, one thing I really had to, I suppose, note and see over the weekend, and of course the attendances at the games over the weekend. And I obviously, of course, I know it's still only the league and people will kind of use that, I suppose, phrase and so on and so forth, but I really thought there was such a poor crowd for even the Division 1 final there yesterday. I think people were saying upwards towards 20,000, but it was crazy to see the Davin stand absolutely empty yesterday. And then I know there's like a good enough kind of crowd in, the Cusack stand, and obviously the Hogan stand, and presume it was full, but I was so tempted nearly to put up a poll online just to see what the story is. Is it obviously the cost of living crisis at the minute? Is it just too expensive for families? Like, there obviously, is it the quality of games? And obviously with the new rules, maybe it's hard to put it down to the quality, maybe. But what's your thoughts on the attendances over the weekend?
My thoughts genuinely were that it was a combination of the things that you mentioned, with also the rhetoric around who wants to be in the final. Like, that was more or less banded about from the get-go, from every angle that you turn to. And it had a massive effect, in my opinion, on the attendance at the finals at the weekend. I mean, you look at it there, you're very right bringing up the cost of living crisis. Everything is so much more expensive these days. And if I were a fan in Kerry or Mayo, for example, let's use the Division 1 final, because we have a great comparison with the 2019 final when both of the teams were the same and the pairing was the same and everything like that. But there's two huge things that were different. Number one, cost of living wasn't as bad. We were pre-pandemic. But number two, the league final was on the same time, but the championship didn't kick off until May 5th. So you knew that Mayo and Kerry were going to go into that league final giving it absolutely everything that they had. And it was built up as a proper final that teams were going to go for with everything that they had. Now, this time, from the get-go, we've been hearing who really wants to make it to the league final. Is it a good thing for teams to make it to the league final? When Donegal lost against Galway after winning the first 3 games, it was Donegal don't want to make it to the league final. So why would they want to do that? And my thing is, if it's going to cost me a bomb to go to this league final, if I'm a Mayo fan or a Kerry fan and I have to make that long journey, pay the exorbitant price on the petrol or the train to get over there, pay for the ticket, pay for the food, the drinks. If I want to stay the night in Dublin, you better be putting on a hell of a show for me to go through all that bother. And if all I'm hearing from everywhere that I'm turning is that they might not even go for it 100%, well, then I'm just in my head thinking, I'll catch you later, lads. I'll turn up when the championship happens. And you can't tell me that it didn't affect like the attendance. Like, there was something like 44,000. I'll get the exact figure here.
Yeah.
It was 21,567.
Yeah.
21,596 at this year's league final. 44,257 at the final in 2019 with the same 2 teams involved.
Yeah.
Now, that is not by coincidence. It has slowly gone downhill since
Yeah.
we've condensed the calendar and now started this rhetoric of who really wants to win it. The competition's prestige is suffering as a result of this, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's I genuinely think it's just worth noting because like obviously kind of watching on there yesterday, like the crowd was just very poor. Like I know obviously maybe like that, I thought the off league was their game. Obviously we'll touch on to it now in a couple of minutes time, but I think that actually obviously was a very good game. And then you had obviously Kerry Mayo, which I thought was a pretty good game as well. And obviously David Clifford, the form he's in at the minute, like he's nearly worth to take a price alone. But I just thought the attendances over the weekend obviously were very very poor, and I suppose other kind of GAA news in recent days as well, Seamus, before we kind of crack into the action. Marty Curry and Joe McMahon leaving the Meath senior footballers on Saturday evening there. I couldn't really believe it. Meath obviously had a very, very good kind of league campaign, and obviously two men that need very little introduction regarding coaching. Marty, as aforementioned in numerous podcasts before, he's a quality coach, and then Joe McMahon's obviously has an extreme level of detail football and brain. He's superb. So I couldn't really believe the news. I think at the stage when Meath were doing so well throughout the league, it was one step forward, but it just seems to be one step forward and 10 steps back. There's no real details of what's kind of transpired. And obviously you hear stuff on WhatsApp rumors, and you don't believe everything you hear, but some of the stuff coming out was there's a bit of a mix up in communication, maybe a lot of kind of voices at the once. And I know obviously when you're coaching a team, everyone has to be on the same wavelength, but I think for the two men to go has to be so disappointing for Meath fans, and especially when things are looking up. But it's a real kick between the legs.
No, it certainly is. And like I thought Paul Flynn nailed it on League Sunday when he was talking about it, that just like it's the worst timing imaginable. Like that if managers leave at the end of the season, it's somewhat retrievable, but for coaches to leave mid-season, it is disastrous timing. And like you were to look back at that round 7 game that Meath had against Louth, where like promotion was there for them. If they had won that game against Louth, given the fact that Roscommon slipped up against Westmeath, they would have got promoted to Division 1.
Yeah.
And that carrot was dangling for them, and they were really, really flat in the first half. And I remember thinking, like, what more motivation do you need to get up for this game? Like, promotion is literally right there for the taking if Roscommon slip up, which they did. And they just weren't there to capitalize on it. And now, knowing what we know now with the two coaches leaving the panel, you wonder, was it at halftime in the dressing room there where, there's too many voices, too many cooks in the kitchen trying to tell you this and that? And like Meath, especially in the first half of that game, looked like they had nothing to play for, which made no sense to me whatsoever. And it seems to line up with the two boys leaving, I have to say.
Yeah, very disappointed. Like, and I think like I was out basically all day on Saturday, and yourself when you're not on your phone too much, and you hear that you get the WhatsApps and they come flying in, and like I was just thinking, God, what has gone wrong now in the GAA world? But all the numerous problems that can be going on in GAA world at times, like. But geez, when I seen that news about the two boys leaving, like of course, obviously Cavan have a bit of a rivalry with me, but I genuinely feel sorry for the Royal fans. But hopefully Robbie Brennan can come up with a plan, because championship is this weekend for the Royals, and it is not ideal timing. And it's very interesting to see. Will something come out in the wash about that whole incident? And then obviously Shane Curran has left his manager duties with the Carlow senior footballers as well. I think that news broke last Wednesday, and obviously Shane Curran needs very little introduction. Like everyone knows him for, I suppose, a bit of crack and camaraderie he has with GAA people, and he's a great guy. Again, there are murmurs about the Carlow lads extending their stay in London and going out for a few beers and, enjoying themselves, I suppose, for want of a better phrase. But Shane Curran leaving Carlow, Seamus, obviously more surprising news.
Not for me.
Or maybe not.
No, genuinely, like, I'm not trying to say it in a way that like, oh, I'm this unique person. No, it's not that. It's just when they hired him, I was a little bit like, really? Like, He never, ever, ever struck me as a manager. He never struck me as somebody who would be, in some type of way, serious enough to be the coach. He is, as you say, he's known for having the crack. He's known for being this really outgoing, super bubbly, super friendly personality. And to be a manager, you need to have the good cop and the bad cop. And I never looked at him and thought, you're going to be a manager. It's the same. Like, there's certain Dublin players that were in the Dublin team that I was watching growing up that I looked at and I thought 100% you're going to be a manager one day. Like players like James McCarthy, players like Brian Fenton, players like Stephen Cluxton, who are just uber professional. But the Mavericks in the Dublin team, like the Dear McConnellys, never looked at them and thought, you're going to be a manager one day, because they're just their own person and they added to the group in their own special way. But the reason that I always look at James McCarthy and players like that as being future managers is because the way they play, they drag people with them.
Yeah.
Like they're, and whereas Connolly is more of a type of player that he's just
do his own thing.
I'll do it. Like that type. And Curran always struck me as a maverick. He always struck me in the way that he played the game.
Yeah.
He always did things outside the box and always did it his own way. And me personally, I think if he's trying to tell a bunch of Carlow lads, do it my way, and someone who's big in the dressing room, like a Mikey Bambrick or whoever, I'm not saying Bambrick would have been the person going against Curran, just I'm saying there's big personalities in that Carlow dressing room. Yeah. If he had been saying go my way and someone went against him, it's you have to learn to compromise when you're in the manager's position. And like, had he had any previous success as a manager?
God, not really. Yeah, like what? Like I would totally agree.
It wasn't like he won a club All Ireland or a club.
Yeah. No, I would. Yeah, no, I would totally agree with you. When I did hear the news with Shane Curran taking the Carlow job, like I couldn't really believe it. Like I think, I don't know, was there a bit of desperation there potentially? Were Carlow really just looking, and the approach Shane, and Shane obviously being a nice man that he is, he kind of said, right, I'll give you the years of it. But I just think that news with him leaving last week could probably leave a bitter taste in a lot of Carlow fans' mouths, and I just think it's a desperate time coming into the championship now, Seamus. But look, that's their problem. Me and you are not going to sort it out. Yeah.
The last thing, just before we move on, is
absolutely. Yeah.
It didn't scream long term. Yeah. And when you are a team that's in Division 4, when you're a team that's in, like, I'll give you a kind of an example. Like, so in the hurling, I felt like when Waterford brought in Davy Fitz, I felt like Waterford brought Davy in to try and cash in on the team that they had. I thought that Derry last year bringing in Mickey Hart was to try and be like, we're good enough now to win All Ireland, let's go for it.
Yeah.
That isn't what you do when you have to build for the future. You're in Division 4. You're not going to cash in on anything. You need someone who's going to be there for a long-term project to move you up the divisions the way that Mickey Hart did with Louth, the way that, Billy Lee did with Limerick. You need to be someone who's going to be there for 4, 5, 6 years to take the standard of the whole county up.
Yeah, exactly. A plan, not a race. A marathon, not a race, I suppose. Is probably the best way to describe it. But look, 2 bits of news, obviously, that I suppose broke in the last few days, and then obviously today as well, Seamus. GAA Plus, the GAA's new live and on-demand streaming platform today announced its exclusive 2025 championship schedule, comprising of 40 live matches, many of which would not otherwise have been broadcast, and sees no reduction in the number of free-to-air TV games made available to fans every year. Season passes for Irish-based users are now on sale for €79 from www.gaaplus.ie, and GAA members will receive a 10% discount via foreign. Previous GAA Go season pass subscribers will be contacted in the coming days with further instructions regarding their access. Individual matches will cost €12. 3 for 2 bundles will be available, and all caregiving locations will receive season passes free of charge. Very good. That's obviously great to hear that through the HSE and NHI. A GAA Club Pass will be priced at €150, and a commercial premises pass will be set at €300. As with all GAA commercial revenue, 82% of profits generated from GAA Plus will be reinvested in planned player pathway coaching and development initiatives, selected capital infrastructure projects, each province, and club support. Jared Burns, Uachtaráin Cumann Lucas Gale said, "This is a landmark day for the GAA. I will reiterate the comments I made at Congress when I stated that the inception of GAA Plus is a strategic move that guarantees exposure for games in the small but intensely competitive Irish broadcast market. We are proud leaders in the Indigenous sports OTT space that ensures we meet growing GAA member demand whilst also creating a commercial return that will definitively reinvested in ongoing GAA initiatives around the country." And there's a seismic change happening in Gaelic football in 2025, and the GAA Plus analysis team of Mark O'Shea, Paddy Andrews, Aaron Kernan, Michael Meehan, Breed Stack, and John Heslin will take viewers to the heart of new rule enhancements, emergent patterns, and winning formulas from the opening weekend in April. Further football announcements are planned in the coming days. Meanwhile, Richie Hogan, Bubbles Dwyer, Owen Callaghan, Seamus Hickey, Noel Connors, and Tommy Walsh will run the rule over the small ball action. News obviously breaking today, but GA Plus, Seamus, and it's GA Go. It was GA Go, now it's GA Plus. So we're really moving with the times. We're really original in the GA, and this all just screams the dodgy box, Seamus.
I wasn't expecting that last line. Kind of threw me with it. Me personally, I'm really excited by that announcement and by the news and everything like that. And look, again, those debates have flared up more or less every year since the games became more and we needed more coverage partners and everything like that. And GAA Go stepped in to show some games. And I think people in the GAA, my stance on it is people in the GAA do have very short-term memories when it comes to most of the games that we see now. We wouldn't have seen 10 years ago. We wouldn't have seen 15 years ago. We have been moving in the right direction, and GA Plus, in my opinion, is another step in the right direction. And I really like the team that they've assembled.
Yeah.
There's a lot of smart people involved with this, and I can see it only going the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Programming will extend beyond match days as a new Monday to Friday content schedule. Yes, what I've been crying out for on this podcast. So finally, I think they're listening to a Seamus content schedule will include. Sorry, I'll get the speed done. Micro highlights packages Monday, GA Plus bite size. The return of ratified series 02, the combined football and hurling format Tuesday. A hurling analysis show with Noel Connors and Seamus Hickey on Wednesday, called Hurling Analysis Show, and then a football show with Michael Meehan and Aaron Kernan Thursday, football in detail, and the editorial piece on Friday. This midweek content will be free of charge and available on the GAA Plus YouTube and social media channels. Well, my God, Seamus, thank God. I have been harping on about this, and I said it on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. If it'd be fantastic if we had previews of games, and it'd be great if they could even do this for the league next year, GAA Plus, get news from around the counties, from the managers, and preview the games and get inside knowledge. But look, this is a starting block that hopefully will continue into next year.
Certainly, and all of that sounds superb. And as I was saying, I've had the pleasure of meeting, a lot of those pundits, and I had the pleasure of going to a couple of games last year. There's a lot of smart people involved with what was GA Go, now GA Plus, and genuinely, all of those ideas sound class. Of those ideas sound class, and it's something that we as GA fans have been craving for such a long time, because it was in the game, and then over the last 10 years it got removed from the game. I remember looking back it was up on YouTube. Somebody stole the footage from I don't know where, but there was an episode of Championship Matters on for the All-Ireland hurling final, and they had it was a build up to the All-Ireland hurling final.
That was a great show. Yeah.
And they had Danny Sutcliffe from Dublin, and they had, I think it was Paul Brown. I could be wrong about that, but it was a Limerick hurler who had played against Clare in the semi-final. And they were asking Danny, what did Cork do well? And they were asking the Limerick player, what did Clare do well? The two teams that had beat them in the semi-final, and now they were going to meet in the final. They were doing a full preview for it, and the episode was brilliant. I watched it, and it made me want to go back and watch the 2013 hurling final.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
The preview show, and this is something that we have really wanted as GA fans. And again, I'm buzzing to see what they do with it, because you rattled off the pundits' names, from the Breed Stacks to the Tommy Walshes, and I can't wait to see their spin on a preview show and the angles that they go down and the access that they're going to have to players as well, that have been just eliminated from the championship and all. It's going to give us a whole new window into what we can see. And the good thing about GA Plus is it's a streaming service, so they're not as tightly bound to time slots and stuff like that as, say, RT or TG4 or people that are on TV would be. Because look, TG4 definitely embraced doing the live streams on YouTube, and that, obviously is much more flexible. When you're on TV, you have a certain time that you have on it, And me personally, one of the things that I think is absolutely necessary, and I'd love GA Plus to do this, is redo the debate on what we need to do for hurling in the smaller, so-called smaller counties with hurling. Because last year when they did the debate with Peter Fortune and Neil McManus and Liam Sheedy and Anthony Daly, and they had it on the Sunday game, they had only a short slot on the Sunday game for it. So what would happen was Peter Fortune would be mid making a really good point, or Neil McManus would be mid making a really good point, and you could tell they just didn't have enough time to do this. And I would love to see them release on their YouTube channel just an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and 50 minutes, best in the business, explaining what we can all do to improve the game of hurling in the so-called smaller counties and lift the game across the country.
Yeah, and that's a massive point as well, Seamus. Like, I was watching League Sunday there yesterday, like, and I suppose like it is very disappointing. Like, I think it was the hurling coverage there of the I think it was the Division 3 and Division 4 finals, and like, my God, I think it was literally 30-40 seconds on each county and each counties. And I think it was at the Fermanagh manager and the Loud manager like stood side by side after the game, and they were kind of giving out about the lack of, I suppose, as you were rightly after saying, respect that the hurling gets. And if we really want to put the lower divisions on a pedestal, why can't we play these games in the likes of Croke Park? And I think club pitches for them league finals in the hurling was very, very disappointing. But
without I think a 65-meter line and without a fourth official.
Yeah, like at this day and age, that is absolutely crazy. Like, it's absolute madness. But I just think League Sunday, like, and you were so right there, like, running out of time, and you want to expand on your point, you want to kind of go on a bit further. But I think hopefully now this GA Plus will really kind of give it a good dig out. And but look, I think this can all be good. I think every avid GA fan, like any kind of midweek shows and midweek preview shows, will definitely not be turned down. But that's obviously great news today, and the very, very best luck to the whole GA.
Yeah, no, I'm buzzing for it.
Yeah.
See what they do.
Absolutely, yes. The very best luck to everyone concerned. I suppose, Matthew, we will crack into the Allianz National Football League finals that took place over the weekend. We will start with Division 4, Matthew, on Saturday in the Allianz National Football League Division 4 final. It was Limerick against Wexford. It was Limerick 3-11, Wexford 18 points in Croke Park. A great win for the Limerick lads. I was delighted for them. I think Limerick have probably had it quite tough in recent years, and obviously after Billy Lee leaving, he was a huge loss to that county. But Jimmy is doing a really, really good job now, and he's getting Limerick back to where it'll, I suppose, belong in Division 3.
Oh, certainly. And like, as I said, when Billy Lee had come in initially, they went from strength to strength, back to back, or I think it was 2 promotions in 3 years. Sorry, that they went from Division 4 up to Division 2, and look, they looked the real deal, like in terms of players like Cian Sheehan, Ian Corbett, Danny Neville, Josh Ryan as well. When he was fantastic when he was outfield, he switched into goal, and he's a solid goalkeeper as well. And it was a shame to see when Billy Lee left that they fell like a stone, back-to-back relegations, right back down to Division 4. And it's great to see that they've kind of arrested that tide. They've arrested the negative momentum. Jimmy Lee has managed to turn it around and get them promoted. And look, they were going into this Division 4 final against a Wexford team that had been head and shoulders above the whole league throughout the whole campaign. 7 wins out of 7 Wexford had. Some of the form of some of their players like Mark Rossiter, Ben Brosnan still doing the business. I mean, how long is that? Like, in terms of longevity, Ben Brosnan is unbelievable.
Off the charts.
And yeah, just Wexford looked really, really good going into. And I thought in this league final that there was no way Wexford wouldn't win because they'd been so solid and so consistent throughout the league campaign. But Limerick, I mean, even with the new rules and even with the 2-pointers in goals win games, and like Limerick hitting those 3 goals, and it was the time that they hit them at. So they hit the first goal from Darrow Shuku that pushed them 3 points ahead. And I felt like any time that Wexford got close to them, Limerick would hit the next goal, and it just establish again another bit of a gap. So in the second half, Peter Nash gets the second one, and then finally Tommy Childs hits the third one. And then once Childs hit the third one, Wexford seemed to always be chasing the game. And the one thing that I want to give a massive shout to, because you were mentioning what you were shouting out for on your pod, what I was shouting out for on my pod was for them to make that small little tweak to the time system in the GAA, and that when the hooter goes, we should have one more play, because then the ending of a game is undisputed. I was saying it was a great move. It was a fantastic move by the GAA initially to change the time to, the who they're going and then time being finished, because we had so many complaints over the years about too much at a time, too little at a time, should have played more time, should have played less time. And that eliminated that. And you never had those problems in the LGFA because they had the countdown clock. So we implemented something similar for the men's Gaelic football. And then the Westmeath versus Meath game was a real warning shot because there was so much chaos over whether or not Meath should have had that goal stand. The goal did stand and Meath won the game because of it. And I remember saying on my podcast, can you imagine an All-Ireland final where a call like this happens and the referee has to decide if the player kicked the ball before the hooter or after the hooter? So I looked to rugby, the way that, when the time goes in rugby, they have to put the ball out for the game to be finished. I said we should implement something like that in the GAA. I'm not saying that they listened to me, but I'm saying that they listened to someone and they implemented that. And you look over the weekend at the drama that we saw at the end of this game in Division 4, where you had Niall Hughes taking on that last shot to level the game, and it goes wide and Limerick win because that shot went wide. Can you imagine the drama if the hooter goes in an All-Ireland final and both teams are level? And know that this last play, you have a shot to win it. Imagine the drama. So, number one, they've dodged a potential bullet by example of the Meath-Westmeath game, because if that happened in an All-Ireland final, it would be pandemonium. And the second thing is, it's actually added more drama to the game. So it's a win-win. Massive props to them for making that little adjustment.
Yeah, correct and right, James. You're absolutely correct and right. And a massive shout out to Limerick's James Nocton as well throughout the league campaign. He had a serious league campaign, so a massive shout out to him, and obviously a massive shout out to Wexford's Ben Brosnan, who is still towing the line for Wexford, and he is an absolute credit to himself and his family and his club. And we will move on to Division 3 action, Matthew, in the action yesterday on Sunday in the Allianz National Football League Division 3 final. It was Kildare against Offaly. It was Kildare 118, Offaly 217 in Croke Park. A great win for Offaly here, Matthew. Seamus, sorry. It's one of them days, Mondays. Sorry, Seamus. I'm so used to Matthew. It was a great win for Offaly, and obviously Mickey Hart will be absolutely delighted. He's won everywhere he's gone at this stage. What a man! What an incredible feat. Winning's a habit, and Offaly are delighted to have that band on board. And it was great to see Offaly, the colour in Croke Park, green and white, and obviously Michael Duggan is doing incredible work with them, with the Offaly lads. But Offaly will be delighted with that win yesterday.
Oh, they absolutely will. They were full value for it, and don't be worried as well about the match. Someone actually commented live on one of our podcasts. We do podcast so much together now that people like which one is which. But someone commented saying Seamus and Matthew are now like salt and pepper.
two peas in the pod, Seamus. 2 peas in the pod.
2 peas on the pod.
On the pod, brilliant. 2 peas on the pod.
That could be the new name. 2 peas on the pod.
I'll take credit for that one.
But yeah, this game was superb. Offaly were full value for the win. They were an absolute breath of fresh air. The way that they played football, really, like they reminded me a lot of how they played in that under-20 final against Roscommon. And they had 7 lads that started that under-20 All-Ireland final, that started this Division 3 final against Kildare. And they've been versatile. Like Cormac Egan was a forward for that team. He's now a flying wing back for the senior team. And like Jack Bryant as well at full forward, I was really impressed with him, because I thought when he first came up, he looked a little bit nervous. Especially when he played against Dublin, I thought. But then again, he had Mike Fitzsimons on him. Like, I mean, he was not going to be nervous in that situation. But I thought he looked like he's been bulking up. Like, he looked a much bigger lad. And that goal and the way he took it, wow. Like, to put the head down, go through the challenges and stick it in the top corner with the outside of your right foot. Just the confidence to take that technique on. Unbelievable. And he's a box office player. And another box office player is Keith O'Neill. I mean, the way that guy plays football is just a joy to watch. He himself talked about Jack Bryant's goal getting clipped up and made into a reel. which myself, I'm the one that made the reel for TG Carr.
Good man, Seamus. Fair play.
I had a little chuckle when he said that in the interview, because I was like, already done, mate.
I'll take credit for that one.
But Keith O'Neill, he is a player that you would make TikToks and reels about, because that fella takes on all the shots from outside the boot, and the score that he got off his left foot when Jack Bryant laid it back to him and he was on the run and he just curled it over with the left foot. Like, he's a supremely talented Gaelic footballer, and he's the type that you'd pay in to see. Other players that they had throughout the team, like Cormac Egan, bombing forward from wing back, was awesome to watch as well. Jordan Hayes in midfield, I thought, was superb. Got a lovely 2-pointer outside the arc. And just all in all, Offaly are a massive plus to any championship that they're in. We saw the colour, the atmosphere, the noise, the passion that they brought to the under-20 hurling championship last season. They were unbelievable. If we can get some of that in the senior game, we'd be blessed. So I love seeing Offaly on the rise. Long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great win yesterday. Absolutely delighted for them. It was great stuff. And Mickey Hart and Declan Kelly are doing sterling work with the Offaly lads, make no doubt about it. And then on Saturday, Matthew, oh my God, I've done it again. I'm so sorry. I'm brainwashed. Sorry, Seamus. Jesus Christ. Oh my God, that's Monday for you, Seamus. Sorry. I'm just so used to Matthew at this stage. You're so used to Matthew. Seamus in the Allianz National Football League Division 2 final on Saturday. It was Monaghan against Roscommon. It was Monaghan 126, Roscommon 19 points in Croke Park. This Monaghan journey is continuing. We were talking off air about the Monaghan lads. I know a Cavan man, obviously, with the rivalry that's there with Cavan and Monaghan, but as someone said to me, geez, John, like, you're probably raging the Monaghan one the weekend, but I've been in awe of Monaghan the whole league. I think they've just been absolutely incredible. They've played really well throughout the whole league. Obviously, we got bet in the first game against them in Breffni Park the first day out, but Micheál Bannigan, I think, has been their star player. Obviously, Gabriel is so happy with how they're playing and how they're applying themselves, and I kept saying on every podcast in recent weeks that, they really could have folded this year, and they've applied themselves to work so hard, and obviously winning that National League trophy on Saturday night is a real testament to the work going on in the Farney Army County. Seamus.
No, it certainly is. And I picked Monaghan to win this game, but I definitely didn't pick them to win it by 10 points. First half, the game was super competitive. Monaghan were actually behind at halftime. So if you'd said at halftime the Monaghan were going to win by 10 points when it was all said and done, you would have been a brave man to call that. But in the second half, they were absolutely superb. Micheál Bannigan now, the form that he's in, he looks like one of the best players in the country. Like, all throughout the league campaign, he has been superb for Monaghan. He scored outrageous goals, including the one straight from the throw-in against Down. And he got some gorgeous scores on Saturday night against Roscommon, especially his 2-pointer from outside the arc. And his scores came at pretty crucial times as well. And he's such a key link man as well between the midfield and the attack and everything like that. And as captain, I mean, he has more weight on his shoulders now with players like Conor McManus stepping away, Darren Hughes not being in his prime anymore. And Bannigan has really, really shouldered that burden through this league campaign. He's been superb. And I was delighted for him that he got to lift that trophy. And Monaghan were superb. Jack McCarron's goal, the crucial score, I think, in all seriousness, because once that went in, I think it knocked the stuffing out of Roscommon, gave Monaghan that extra impetus to keep going. But in all honesty, like, if you look at the highlights, if you look at the game back, the final 10 minutes was all Monaghan. Like, they were kicking for home, and Roscommon had more or less completely went out of gas. You would ask the question, we've had two Connacht teams in the league finals, Roscommon and Mayo. Both of them were pretty bad in the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Is it a coincidence with Connacht just around the corner?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of begs the debate in these league finals. Obviously, with the managers giving out about being in them in the first place, and obviously Davy Burke last week saying about they've no business being in league final. There was Comer in league final at the weekend, but like the game itself, like it was obviously a very entertaining game. It has to be said, and obviously both teams did kind of have a go, and obviously, as you rightly said, in the second half, probably Roscommon did kind of fade away, but obviously Monaghan spread the scores, and we talk about Rory Beggan all the time, but 7 points on Saturday night is extremely good kicking for a goalie. Downey, obviously Jack McCarron winning 1-2, Beo Bannigan with 5 points, Andrew Wood 3 points. Like the array of scores is really there, and obviously Ryan McInnesby coming into really good form once again for the Monaghan lads, and Conor McCarthy, he had a great game at the weekend as well. So Monaghan have to be really impressed with their scores over the weekend, Seamus, and they will be delighted. I think I think it was Gabriel Bannigan just basically saying after the game, like, the game is going to be Croke Park. And like, I think I love his interviews. He carries himself so well in the post-match interviews and pre-match interviews. But he literally said, right, guys, we have a game at Croke Park, let's play this weekend. And my God, they did.
Yeah, they certainly did. And they've played throughout the entire league campaign. Like, they're the top scorers across all 4 divisions. Like, they scored 14 goals and 180 points throughout this league campaign, including the final. That's works out to roughly an average of 223.
That's
Again,
incredible.
now you can call me Matthew. But yeah, in this game they scored 126 with a 67% conversion rate.
Yeah.
Like, their attack has been superb.
Off the charts, yeah.
Yeah. They're just really, really good. And they are one of the main teams that have embraced these new rules. And we'll come to it when we talk about Division 1. Monaghan have really embraced the 2-point arc as well. Whereas when you look at Kerry and Mayo in the Division 1 final, especially Mayo didn't even entertain taking a shot from outside the arc. And that's a big problem for them, but it's been a massive benefit to both Roscommon and Monaghan.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I suppose, Seamus, like, Roscommon at the weekend, like, obviously they were bet, but I think the form of some of their players on Saturday night, like the Murta brothers are very good. Like Jeremy Murta kicking it with 8 points. He had a very, very good league campaign, and good to see Keane McKeown in there full forward. He's really broke onto that Roscommon team, and then the Smith, like, so, like, of course they were bet on Saturday night, but I still don't think it's the end of the world. I still would give them a serious chance for the Connacht Championship. And obviously Davies Burke, talking, getting to the league final, putting the emphasis on the league. But I think, yes, you're a bet on Saturday, but I still think they are well placed going into the Connacht Championship.
Yeah, no, they're in a good spot. Dermot Murta is in as good form as I've ever seen him, especially the first few games of the league. Like against Down, he was on fire, and he's carried that form throughout the league campaign. The only thing that I'd say is Roscommon have let their form drop at key points in this league campaign. Like the loss to Meath made me sit up and take notice initially, because I was initially thinking Roscommon might do the slam dunk on Division 2, win all their games and go up. But losing that game was the first one that made me sit up and take notice. Then when they lost to Cavan, I remember being like, that actually could be Roscommon not getting promoted now because of the form that Meath were in at the time, and now the form that Cavan were in. And like, Cavan were so close. Like if Darragh McVeety had got that 2-pointer,
work to score,
yeah, and like it would have been curtains for us coming. Or if Meath had turned up against Louth and actually won that game, then Meath would have been going up instead of them. So it's kind of weird. It's like it feels almost Kildare-esque in a way that, like, yeah, you're getting promoted, but I don't know. It just doesn't strike me with confidence that I would say right now, yes, money down, Roscommon are going to stay up in Division 1 next season.
Yeah.
Oh, how cutthroat Division 1 was this season, man. Like Tyrone getting relegated with 7 points. So you have to look at Roscommon and say they need to win at least 3 games next season to even have a chance of staying up.
Yeah, Division 1 is absolute dog eat dog. So we wish Roscommon well next year going into, I suppose, the fortress that is Division 1. I suppose last word, Matthew, really on this game, and I suppose Monaghan heading into the Ulster Championship with such good form in recent weeks, and like they will not fear. I think the 4 Monaghan are in at the minute. They will not fear any team in Ulster, and obviously Ulster is obviously very competitive, and a lot of teams could win the Ulster Championship this year, make no doubt about it. But I think Monaghan, I wouldn't say the sky's the limit for them, but the form they're in at the minute, they won't fear any team.
No, they definitely won't fear any team because, as we were saying there, the scoring form that they're in is incredible. They've completely embraced these new rules, and the new rules have changed the game. Like they really, really have. Like last season, it was teams playing not to lose. This year, it's teams playing to win. Last year, it was teams thinking we're going to concede less than you. And now it's we're going to score more than you. And Monaghan very much embody that we're going to score more than you attitude. They're attacking from the minute go. And 126, like top scorers across the division, across all 4 divisions, and the top scorers in the finals as well. No coincidence. Their whole system has been geared towards attacking and scoring more than their opponents. And they will go at whoever they play in Ulster. And the reality is, like, we've seen teams win the Ulster Championship from Division 2. Donegal won the Division 2 last season and went on to win the Ulster Championship. And they shattered the hype around Derry in that first game. And Monaghan won't fear anybody. Like, make no mistake, they will not fear anybody.
They never did. Never did.
Especially not in Ulster.
Yeah. No, I think they're coming into such good form in the Ulster Championship there. I think they're really going to, they're really going to hit the ground running in Ulster, like, and they will fear no team. They've just shown such good form. So it will be very, very interesting to see how they get on in the Ulster Championship. And no doubt about it, Seamus. And I suppose we will crack into the Division 1 final yesterday in Croke Park in the Allianz National Football League Division 1 final. It was Kerry against Mayo. It was Kerry 118, Mayo 112 in Croke Park. Interesting game, Seamus. Obviously, after the game, Mayo manager Kevin McStay basically saying that David Clifford was probably protected in Croke Park yesterday, and obviously like he probably gets enough abuse, and all the talk really is about David Clifford every day he goes out, like, and I know maybe he bought probably a few handy frees, like, but I seen the Mayo lads getting quite physical at times during that game. I think Ryan O'Donoghue made a challenge at the end that he probably wouldn't be proud of at the end, like, so I think it's very, very easy for Kevin McStay to kind of throw mud at Clifford, and I know obviously after the game tensions are high, so on and so forth, like, but very interesting. But look, Kerry are National Football League champions for 2025. They will be happy enough. Jack O'Connor very subdued after the game. I have to say the emotions weren't running too high, but I suppose we all really expected Kerry to get the job done here.
Yeah, no, I was expecting Kerry to win this game. I think the history of the current Vihili Verhertig and the fact that it was named after such an icon of not just the GAA but of Irish culture and Irish sporting life. It's fitting that Kerry won this, and I just want to say at the start of this game, massive shout to Allianz, to the GAA for naming this cup after such a great man.
Great shout.
And then a lovely touch by Jarlath Burns to get Micheál's family to present the cup to Gavin White. Just around the board, kudos to everyone involved. And I was there at the launch of the cup on Wednesday, and it was a lovely evening. Lots of people got up and told stories about Micheál, and he's just such a legend. And to be honest, the man probably deserves a statue. But
he does, hopefully it's coming.
Hopefully he gets a statue, but we'll start with the cup anyway. And it definitely adds a bit of prestige to the competition to have the trophy named after him, because I think before it was literally called something like the National Insurance Ireland Trophy or something. Like, it was named after a company that no longer exists, and somehow it had been completely ignored by everyone for years.
Yeah, true.
But Allianz, for them to rename the cup, the Micheál Verhertig Cup, and to not try and push for something like the Allianz Cup or something, massive respect to them, because they've gained my respect with that one. And I really, really, really was looking forward to this final. I thought, even though Mayo had the Connacht Championship around the corner, I thought that they would give it a little bit more than what it ended up being. And look, there were a couple of key instances in this game. Paddy Clifford's performance was the highlight of the game. He's an absolute Rolls Royce of a footballer. He's an absolute black belt in stitching the game up together. He's such a good ball carrier. He always requires somebody watching him at all times. And then the Hessian was watching him at all times. But Paddy's able to just glide away from people so effortlessly. Like, the point that he got off his right foot when he started under the Hogan stand, he just slowly moved away from him and eventually kicked it over off his right. He is a superb footballer. He gave a tour de force there on Sunday. But the game itself, apart from Paddy, it was poor. It wasn't, anywhere near as entertaining or exciting as the Division 3 final that preceded it. And I think there's a couple of reasons for it. I think Mayo did have it in their head about, the Connacht Championship next week. Galway were nearly taken out by Sligo last year. So Mayo know it's not a walkover game. It's not going to be a gimme. And I think especially going down the last 15 minutes because when Owen McLaughlin got the goal and Ryan O'Donoghue got the 2-pointer, and all of a sudden the gap had been cut from 8 to 3 like that, it was almost there for Mayo. And then Kerry got the next 2 points from David Clifford and Tony Brosnan. And then it was just flat. All of a sudden,
Yeah,
it's like Mayo didn't have the urge or the desire to go and hunt Kerry down for a second time.
yeah,
And once Kerry checked Mayo's momentum there, the last 10 minutes were played at a canter, and it really did feel like a trial game. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
easy enough win.
Yeah, and like there's a couple of things I probably want to ask in terms of this, and like I was saying in the group chat with the lads yesterday, like I think David Clifford, like I know obviously he kind of comes into a lot of attention and so on and so forth, and I think that narrative of Paddy playing really well yesterday kind of suits him because all the focus is on David, and like obviously teams prepared to play David, like, but I think that kind of suits Paddy maybe to free him up a bit and kind of go about the pitch, and as you say, Royals Rose, a fantastic footballer, but I think David. I think at times he looked like he was kind of shooting on sight in Croke Park yesterday. I think there was probably opportunity for lads maybe to kind of be slipped in. And I know David, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not doubting his talent for 1 minute. He's probably one of the most incredible players I've ever seen. But I think at times, and some other people were kind of agree with me in terms of, passing the ball off and kind of feeding other teammates. Like, does that put it kind of show much kind of confidence in the lads that are around him? Like he was shooting on-side at stages yesterday. I know obviously he was really trying to push Kerry over the line, but did you notice that yesterday at all? Being there?
Yeah, I did notice he was usually the one on the end of things. He played an incredible pass to Michal
He
Burns
did,
that
yeah, yeah,
goal
yeah.
chance. So he still was, bringing other people into the game. But I always said it, like it's a real catch-22 when you have a player like David Clifford
Of course, yeah.
because he's a generational player. So you want to get the ball in his hands as much as you possibly can because he's the best person to finish it off. But it happened with Wexford with Maddie Ford. It happened with Monaghan with Conor McManus. It happened with Dublin in the early 2010s with Bernard Brogan. That
True,
it
yeah.
gets leveled at you that you're too reliant on this guy.
Mm.
But he's the best player that we have. The exact same thing happened with Kerry actually in the LGFA with Louise Verhertig. He got leveled at them that, you're so reliant on Louise. But she was the best finisher for the job. So, of course, you want to get her on the ball in the key positions. And David is no different. You want to get him on the ball in the key positions. But we have seen examples through this league campaign of where they have shown that they have other threats. 318 of their 323 against Galway, or 324, sorry, against Galway on the final day came from players outside Paddy and David.
And they need that.
Yeah. So they need that. They absolutely need that. But still, you're not fooling anyone. Like if it's going down the home stretch and you're 2 points down in Croke Park, we know where the ball is going.
Yeah. But
you're not
do you
going
think yeah, and from being there, like obviously you were yesterday, like and being up close and personal, seeing everything that was going on. Do you think, and obviously I know obviously TV maybe shows a different picture, but do you feel shame or do you feel David could have fed the ball to other teammates? Like it kind of did look like he was all for himself at times yesterday, or might be just being too critical. I don't know.
I didn't get that impression just watching the game.
Okay, that's
I
okay.
think
Okay,
maybe if I analysed it back while looking for that,
okay,
maybe I would see it a little bit more. But like I've watched the game twice. I watched it there at the stadium and then back live with the highlights, and
okay,
I didn't notice too much about it. I did notice that Kerry missed a lot of chances and
okay,
could have definitely put the game to bed a lot earlier.
okay.
Michal Burns' goal chance springs to mind.
Do you interest? Sorry to put in, but with Michal Burns, can you see him? Is he going to make the cut for the championship essentially after being leaving the panel last year?
I would think so. I would
Okay.
start him.
Is he
If I
good
was
enough? Yeah, yeah.
Connor, I would start him. He definitely has earned it. He was unbelievable for Dr. Crokes in the club championship. He
Okay,
definitely did his part on Sunday. So yeah, I would start him.
okay, okay. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, no, just kind of a couple of things that kind of came into the mind yesterday. And obviously, Paul Clifford's performance was brilliant. Paul Geaney will be happy with that yesterday as well.
Yeah.
Seamus, obviously, he's kind of been, I suppose, in and out of form for Kerry in recent years, but he will be absolutely delighted with that. One to make no doubt about it. And I suppose the Mayo end of things, we kind of forementioned, obviously, Ryan O'Donoghue getting 5 points yesterday. And just yeah, like it just didn't seem like Mayo really want to kind of push on and win that game yesterday, and obviously Ed O'Shea chipping in with 3 points, Owen McLaughlin getting the goal. But yeah, I don't think it was a performance probably that Kevin McStay really expected from the Mayo lads. It is still a final at the end of the day, but as you said, they probably have, of course, one eye on the Connacht Championship as well. Like, but yeah, I don't. you kind of said it, don't be fooled. My personal opinion, don't be fooled maybe by this kind of Mayo team. I still don't think they're good enough to win an All Ireland. I know they got to that league final, but I think that they got to probably a league final on the basis of maybe other teams taking a step back. But I still wouldn't rate them for Sam Maguire.
Well, I'd look at it kind of more in the perspective of they're not as good, and I think most people would agree with this, even Mayo fans would agree with this. They're not as good as the team that they had in 2017, 2018 with Lee Keegan and Andy Moore and Cillian O'Connor in his prime. They're not as good as that team, and that team didn't win an All Ireland. And now I know that like the greatest team of all time was around when they were doing that, but the standard still is really, really high. And Mayo have had such a weird league. Like they've been literally in the relegation zone and then in the league final. It's impossible to kind of know where you'd put them. The key thing with the league is don't get carried away. Don't get carried away with a good performance. Don't get carried away with a bad performance. The league is for showcasing what you're capable of and the levels that you're capable of getting to, and that you know what your best plans are, what your best weapons are heading into championship. For Mayo, the main thing that I would be worried about, and for Kerry, in terms of their weapons and what they have at their disposal, is they have not even entertained this, ability of getting 2-pointers. Yeah. I'm not going to listen to that whole, oh, well, they do it in training. Like they'll obviously know that David Clifford can kick the 2-pointers. We haven't seen him do it in an inter-county match in an Allianz League game because they haven't even allowed him to do it. Shawnee kicked a couple of nice ones against Dublin. But my point is Galway and Donegal, especially in Division 1 anyway. In other divisions, we've seen Monaghan absolutely embrace it. We've seen Roscommon absolutely embrace it as we go down the divisions. But if you look at Kerry and Mayo compared to Donegal and Galway, say, Donegal, Darrow Boyle has kicked a 2-pointer more or less in every game. Paddy McBurty has had cracks at them. Kieran Thompson has had cracks at them.
Yeah.
My point is if Donegal need a 2-pointer going down the home stretch, they know who can kick them because they have been doing it since the beginning. Galway, exactly the same. They know Shane Walsh can bang them over. They know that Rob Finnerty can bang them over. They know that Paul Conroy can bang them over. So they know when they're going down the home stretch, right, we need to get the ball to Walsh, to Conroy, and they know who their guys are. Kerry and Mayo, because they haven't even entertained it throughout this league campaign, they're going to be probably putting someone in the position of taking on a 2-pointer shot in an inter-county game, probably for the first time ever. So, and that ramps up the pressure on nailing it and dramatically reduces the likelihood of you scoring. Because Shane Walsh now was so in the groove with kicking 2-pointers. Second nature to him, like especially in the game against Donegal, it was just so easy for him. And like I would look at that and think it's as even a spread in terms of All Ireland potentially teams that can win the All Ireland as I've seen in a long time. And I think the gap, as the league has shown us, the gap between who you might consider the front runners and the dark horses is as small as it's ever been. Those inches. And Kerry and Mayo have kind of willingly put aside even trying to sharpen up their 2-point scoring capabilities, whereas Galway and Donegal have fully embraced them. And I really, really think that could be a millimetre that separates them if they meet in the championship, because Galway and Donegal have a lot more information on who they would put the ball in their hands if it comes down to the wire like that, compared to Kerry and Mayo, who, as I said, haven't even entertained it.
Yeah, correct and right. And like, I think even at that, like, I think Galway and Donegal had obviously very good league campaigns, but I think there is a case of bigger fish to fry. I think you're looking at probably you are looking at all our contenders with Donegal and Galway there, make no doubt about it. Like, poor choice with mad to win a Sam Maguire. Jim McGuinness is probably playing for the long grass. So yeah, no, you're correct and right. It's crazy that they haven't gone for Mayo and Kerry haven't gone for them 2-pointers with these new rules. I don't know.
They've been banging on, especially Jack O'Connor has been one of the main proponents of, well, who really wants to get to the league final? Okay, if you don't, then you should be trying things in the league. If winning isn't of paramount importance, then what should be of paramount importance is like widening your options and making sure that you have as much weapons, as much arrows in the bag as you can have going into the championship. As much weapons, as much different Swiss Army knife parts as you can going into the championship. And Mayo especially, like Mayo the other day, like, because at least Kerry were kicking the ball. At least when Kerry were coming out of defence, they were kicking the ball fast into David Clifford. Mayo were still running the ball.
Yeah, I said on the
off the shoulder and all. I was like, what? Like, it's not 2017, lads. The game's changed.
Yeah, no, I said it on the podcast a few weeks ago. I just think penny for Killian O'Connor's thoughts. Like, I think he would be loving these outside the arc points. I think he's a serious rage boot, but yeah, obviously no Killian O'Connor for the Mayo lads this year, and yeah, it's very interesting. But look, that's Kerry wrapped up. Kerry are Allianz National Football League champions for 2025, and they will be delighted with that result yesterday. And on to go to the championship. Well, I suppose, Seamus, we are in championship mode now. It's hard to believe it's such a quick turnaround, but I suppose the weather is better. The longer evenings are here, and we are into the championship, Mr. Seamus Brady, on Saturday, the 5th of April, in the Leinster Senior Football Championship, round 1. You have Wexford against Laois in Chadwick's Wexford Park at 6 p.m. Oh, Lordy Seamus, the Leinster Football Championship. I cannot wait for it.
Yeah, the who gets to lose the Dublin competition. I mean, that's speaking from, that's not me being like, okay, it's gonna sound, it has sounded dismissive there, but okay, I'll put it this way. I am currently 23 years old. The last time Dublin lost in the Leinster Championship, I was 9 years old.
Crazy stuff.
The last time Dublin lost in Leinster, Instagram did not exist.
Mad stuff.
Barack Obama was in his first presidency.
Oh,
like,
anything else there? Wayne Rooney was
TikTok, WhatsApp didn't exist.
Yeah, Wayne Rooney was, I don't know, but the protector, looking after himself as a footballer. Probably best years Cristiano Ronaldo.
Man City hadn't won the Premier League yet.
True. Man United were decent. Last time Dublin won a Leinster, or did lost match in Leinster, Man United were decent. But it's look at Seamus. We've this game this weekend, but it's just it really just. Look, both teams will plan accordingly. Both managers will plan accordingly. They'll give it a right shot. But the end goal, Dublin's just going to win the Leinster Championship, barring some miracle. Probably. I know, obviously, Meath have improved. Kildare have gone up to Division 2. Westmeath obviously got relegated, but I think Westmeath obviously still had a very good league campaign, all things considered. But realistically, if Dublin get the full team out, it's going to be another Leinster Championship for them. But look, we've this game this weekend anyway. Yeah,
I think we'll try and make this not a full debate about Dublin and the Leinster Championship. But the Leinster Championship, a lot of people have talked about the structure and, this and that and what we should do here and there. But the reality is, any competition is only as good as the teams and the rivalries that you have in the competition. The Ulster Championship is always lauded as being the best, which I think it is. And the Munster Hurling Championship is always lauded as being the best hurling championship, which, again, I think it is. However, if you were to take most of those teams and make them shit, the championship would not be as good as it is. If you were to take one Ulster county and make them unbeaten for 15 years in the province, guess what? The attendances will go down, the standard and the interest in the competition would also go down. If we were to rewind to 2010, Louth, let's be honest, were the rightful winners of that Leinster final. Meath won it, but Wexford should have beaten Dublin in 2011 when they played. Kildare should have beaten Dublin in 2011 when they played. There was a real sense in all of those games that Dublin could be beaten. You look at the Leinster final in 2005, Dublin versus Laois, 82,300 people there. Offaly in 2006 against Dublin, 82,300, absolute sellout. 2007, Dublin versus Laois, sellout. 2008, Dublin versus Wexford, sellout. Now, that's Celtic Tiger versus post-pandemic, cost of living crisis, I know. But there was a real interest because the competition was so good. Because before those four finals that I listed, Dublin won it in 2002, Laois won it in 2003, Westmeath won it in 2004. The competition had been changing hands more or less every year. and you didn't know who was going to win it at the start. And Laois were favourites going into the 2005 Leinster final. So the competition was brilliant. And since then, Dublin's level has just gone like that, and the rest of the teams have dropped off.
Yeah.
No Leinster team has survived in Division 1, I think, since 2012 or 2013 or something.
Yeah.
So that says it all. It's not just Dublin's fault. Kildare and Meath have dropped off. And I was talking to a few people that I knew from kind of the Ulster counties, not yourself this time, but I'm sure you have the same opinion, that they were saying when an Ulster county gets success, all the other Ulster counties get their backs up a bit and go, I can't wait to get our hands on them.
We live a coat here, yeah.
Yeah, like Armagh, I expect Armagh to get absolutely torn to shreds in their first game in terms of like the physicality that's going to be in that game. I'm expecting Donegal, Monaghan, Cavan, Tyrone all to be looking at Armagh going, these boys won the All-Ireland. Like, let's get stuck into them now in this provincial championship. Yeah. Whereas teams do lay down to Dublin in the Leinster Championship and have done since we started stringing All-Irelands together.
Yeah, but like it's the Croke Park thing as well. Like, and you know,
I moved out of Croke Park. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, but it's the Croke Park thing in terms of like when Dublin are so far ahead, the seagulls are flying about the place. The place is emptying out. It's Dublin against bloody, I don't know, Kildare or Meath or Westmeath or any of these teams that came up to play Dublin in Croke Park. Like, it's a lonely place when they're beating you by 20 to 30 points, but. Look at Seamus. We could be here till midnight, but look at in one word, Wexford or Laois.
Yeah. No, sorry, I do apologize.
No, you're right. Though you're right. Yeah.
I didn't really go in on that game too much. I'm getting too carried away.
You're right, though. You're right. Yeah.
Wexford and Laois, very interesting game this one because obviously Wexford are coming off the back of losing the Division 4 final. Laois won Division 4 last year. And they were solid in Division 3 this year. Like, I think they finished up in 6th place, but they were never looking over the shoulder towards relegation, to be honest. They were actually looking the other way. And then some defeats towards the end of the campaign meant the promotion wasn't on the cards for them, and then they finished in 6th. Laois, for me, will probably shade this one. They had some good wins in the league campaign. They beat Kildare last year in the Tailteann Cup. And with Justin McNulty there, they have a really, really shrewd coach. And some of their forwards... Yeah, Mark Barry and the like top players, and Killian Roach again as a goalkeeper who's taken to these new rules like a duck to water. So I think the defeat at the weekend will knock the stuffing a little bit out of Wexford, and I think it will be hard to bounce back, and I can see them slipping under in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And then other action on Saturday in the Munster Senior Football Championship quarterfinals, Seamus. It's Tipperary against Waterford in the FBT Semple Stadium, Thurles at 6 p.m. And then you've Cork against Limerick in the TUS Gaelic Grounds in Limerick at 6 p.m. And then other action on Saturday in the Connacht Senior Football Championship quarterfinal, you have London against Roscommon in Ruislip at 2:30. And then the big one on Sunday, Seamus, it's the Ulster Senior Football Championship preliminary round. It's Donegal against Derry in Ballybuffet at 2 p.m. And of course, game will be live on RTE. A very interesting game, this one, Seamus. Obviously, Donegal had a very good league campaign and Derry had quite the opposite. Paddy Tally will be very disappointed, but I think all signs probably point towards Donegal win this weekend. But who knows? Mr. Paddy Tally could have a plan up his sleeve this weekend.
Well, if there's any team that Derry would want to get some payback against, it's Donegal. Because Donegal were the ones that shattered Derry's kind of confidence in themselves, I would say. Because I was looking at Derry in the league this year, and especially seeing games like the Donegal one away from home, and especially seeing games like the Kerry one at home and Galway at home and things like that. And they were showing such grit and determination. And I was like, Brendan Rodgers is still there. Conor Glass is still there. Shane McGuigan is still there. Like, what? They are still a brilliant team. And I was like, what's missing from this Derry team compared to the Derry team last year? And I've come to a little bit of a conclusion, and tell me if you think I'm wrong on this, but I truly believe that Derry last year really, really, truly into their core, into their soul, believed that they were the best team in the country and they were going to win the All-Ireland. I thought they believed that. And the game against Donegal, it was the way that they lost Are you a boxing fan? Do you remember how Anthony Joshua lost recently to Daniel Dubois? Where
Yeah.
just got the absolute, you got the head boxed
Mm-hmm.
off him. It was like the way that Donegal won that game. It was just like hammer blow after hammer blow. It was
Mm-hmm.
like not only did they lose, they got annihilated, and Donegal just figured them out. And not only had they beaten them, but they laid a blueprint down to the next few teams that this is how you beat Derry. And all of a sudden, Derry went into the group games in the championship like a lamb to the slaughter in the Galway and Armagh games. No confidence at all in their craft. And I remember thinking, I've never seen a team look so good to looking so average so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And they pulled it back against Mayo. They showed that fight and determination to get over the line in that one, because I thought that was where their campaign was coming to an end, if I'm honest. But then they were so poor in the quarterfinal against Kerry. And I think for them, watching how it all played out and watching Armagh go on to win the All-Ireland, I'd say they were kicking themselves in the winter. I'd say they were absolutely like, there was an All-Ireland we could have won. I'm not saying they would have, but I'm saying that was one that they could have won. And seeing the form that they were in the league, the results that they got, that was one that they could have won. Donegal shattered the mystique that was around Derry before the championship began. And that definitely did a lot of damage to their confidence and their preparation heading into the rest of the season. And now they have an opportunity to return the favour to Donegal, because ironically, now a lot of people are talking up Donegal as being front. Ireland. Jim McGuinness's second season, it's an omen from his last term as Donegal boss. The first season, he won Ulster, made them very hard to beat, got them to a semi-final. And then the second year, he went one better and won the All-Ireland. This time, he first year in, he won Ulster with them, won Division 2 with them, just like he did in his first term, got them to an All-Ireland semi-final, made them very hard to beat. His second term, what's it going to be?
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. He played the long grass throughout the league as well. So what do we think of Donegal?
I would make Donegal favourites, yes, because I do still think that while the roles maybe are slightly reversed, I think Donegal last year were in a spectacularly better place in terms of the harmony in the camp compared to Derry this time around. I think if there's anything that can act as kind of a rallying call for the Derry lads, it will be this game. But you cannot tell me that they wanted Paddy Talley as their manager, given how long it took for them to hire him. And Talley, for me, any time that they lost, just seemed to complain about the rules. There was never any
an easy go-to. Yeah,
I was like, lads, you've lost again. Stop talking about the new rules. Other teams have to play with these new rules too, and they're beating you. So, get with it. This is how the game is now. And I feel like whenever a manager is like pointing, it was what Glenn Ryan was doing on his way out with the Kildare job. I just think,
oh god, yeah,
it's spelled out to me that I feel like it's not 100%. And Donegal lads, they jump in front of a truck for Jim McGuinness. We all know that. So me personally, I think Derry will give them a good fight, but I think Donegal will find a way to win again.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be definitely worth keeping an eye on this weekend. And then the other action on Sunday, Matthew, in the Leinster Senior Football Championship Round 1, you have Meath against Carlow in Park Dalton at 3 p.m. Of course, Meath, as we mentioned a couple of minutes ago.
Departing management staff.
Departing management staff, yeah. So obviously Meath minus Joe McMahon and Marty Curry heading into this one. And Carlow minus their manager in with Shane Curran. So Park Dalton could be a shout on Sunday, make no doubt about it. And then you have Longford against Wicklow in Glennon Bros Pierce Park at 3:30 on Sunday also. And then the last games of the weekend, Seamus in the Connacht Senior Football Championship quarterfinals. You have New York against Galway in Gaelic Park at 3 p.m. and then 8 p.m. Irish time. And then you have Mayo against Sligo in Hastings Insurance McHale Park at 3:30. The championship is back, Seamus. It just, I don't know, I think we're 3 or 4 years into it. Like, it probably definitely will take a bit of time to get used to it all, make no doubt about it, but really looking forward to the games this weekend. And of course, all the Allianz National Football League action wrapped up there nicely. Seamus, I suppose, who be your players to watch this weekend and bets of the weekend?
Bet of the weekend. Are we talking underdog of the weekend type?
Absolutely. Bet responsibly.
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm not a gambling man myself, but if I was picking kind of an underdog of the weekend, in the football, Waterford to beat Tipperary in the Munster Championship. They beat them last year. Tip for a lot of people that wouldn't really know too much about the state of the current team. They look at Tipperary and think Munster champions 2020. Surely they win that game. I think Waterford have a really good shot of beating them again. What could be more? Sligo to give Mayo a hell of a game.
Yeah.
I really think Sligo could actually give Mayo one hell of a game. You saw how close they pushed Galway last year. Like, I really think that they could be up for this one. What else? What bet? Because underdog, I don't know if I think Derry can beat Donegal, and I don't even know if that would be an underdog thing. But player,
Well, with form at the minute, absolutely. Yeah.
I'll go. Yeah, I think if I was to go underdog bet, I might say Derry to shock Donegal. I think I'll go with Waterford to beat Tip.
Okay.
And then for the player of the weekend, because I do think that Donegal will win, I'm going to say Darrell will strut his stuff in the championship with the 2-point arc.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Darrell will get the first 2-pointer in championship football in Ulster.
Mm. And will we see Michael Murphy? My God, such a
Oh,
talk
yes.
point.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And you already know we're going to get a fight when he comes on.
The Armagh lads against Michael Murphy. My God, the last
Aiden Porter was the Superman punch him.
Oh my God. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. Well, look,
Cole Steve Austin.
Yeah, out of nowhere. It's hard to believe the championship is already back. It'll definitely take a bit of getting used to. But look, we have to acclimatise with all Seamus. But Seamus Brady, thanks a million for joining me this week. Where can people find you on podcasts and apps, so on and so forth?
Yeah, no, just across any social media platform, just under the name Unclear. So it's the Irish for the game. AN space CLUICHE.
Brilliant stuff. Seamus Brady from the Unclear podcast. Check him out. He's doing incredible work. Thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, the podcast is kindly brought to you by orgoretro.com. Use my promo code JMAC podcast to get 15% off on the website. It's championship time. It's orgoretro.com time. Thank you, Seamus.